Hey guys, in this video going to be going over a strong moveset build as well as some additional moves that you could slot in here for your Dragonite in the Gen 2 Pokemon games. Of course, Dragonite is a dragon flying type, leaving it immune to ground. And what's great about that is if you can predict a ground type move such as Earthquake that your opponent is going to use, if you switch in your Dragonite, it's not going to be damaged by that attack. It also strongly resists grass while resisting bug, fighting, fire, and water. And then it's weak to dragon and rock, and it's very weak to ice. It has solid stats. Its best number here is its attack at 134. The downside to this is there's a lot of good moves that go off of the special attack that Dragonite can utilize, but it still has a reasonably strong special attack at 100, so you can still use a lot of those moves. And then its special defense also there at 100, its HP at 91, defense at 95, and speed at 80. So pretty solid stats across the board for Dragonite. So going down and taking a look at this build, there's some different options here, and I'm also going to give you guys some additional moves that you could slot in here depending on what you're looking to do. So move number one, we have a utility move that I really like having on Dragonite, which is Thunder Wave. It paralyzes the target, 100% accuracy. And Thunder Wave is going to be learned by Dragonite natively all the way down there at level 8. Now, there's also the option here of Double Edge, which is going to go off of your very high attack stat, a physical normal type attack. It does have 1/4 recoil, 120 power, 100 accuracy. It can be a little tricky to get Double Edge, though, because you'd have to teach it on Dragonite in the Gen 1 Pokemon games through TM10, and then you'd have to trade that Dragonite back over to your Gen 2 games. But slotting Double Edge in here instead of Thunder Wave just gives you more attacking options and would get rid of the utility move that Thunder Wave brings to the table. Now, I like having Thunder Wave on my Dragonite and then 3 attacking moves, and Dragonite has a ton of different options. And then move number 2 is Ice Beam, and it's good to have an Ice type attack on your Dragonite because if you're going head-to-head against another Dragonite, you're going to want to have that ×4 damage against your opposition. Ice Beam, 10% chance to freeze the target, 95 power, 100 accuracy. And in the Gen 2 games, this is going to be learned through the Move Tutor. And in the Gen 2 games, Ice Beam can be learned through the Move Tutor in Crystal version. After completing the game, a Move Tutor appears in Goldenrod City Game Corner on Wednesdays and Saturdays. He can teach one of the following moves for 4,000 coin. That's where you can teach your Dragonite Ice Beam. And another Ice-type attack that you could also slot in instead of Ice Beam could be Blizzard TM14. It doesn't have as many power points as Ice Beam, but it's a bit more powerful in the Gen 2 games. It's at 120 power compared to Ice Beam, which is at 95. Another downside is it's only 70% accurate. So the fact that it has less power points and less accuracy, even though it's more powerful, means that Ice Beam is usually preferred over Blizzard, but Blizzard is an option that you can go with. And TM14 Blizzard is found over at the Goldenrod Game Corner for 5,500 coin. Going down to move number 3, we have Thunder, which is a 30% chance to paralyze, and it can't miss in rain. It has 120 power, 70% accuracy. And Thunder can be learned through TM25, which is found over at the Goldenrod Game Corner again for 5,500 coin. And actually an additional move that's also at the Goldenrod Game Corner that you can teach to your Dragonite could also be Fire Blast, which is TM38, and this can give you some other types of coverage. I tend to prefer going with the Ice Beam and the Thunder, but if you wanted to, you do have the option to also slide in something like a Blizzard instead of Ice Beam or even a Fire Blast into this move set. And then move number 4, we have Dynamic Punch, which goes off of the high attack stat that Dragonite has. It's a physical fighting type move, 100% chance to confuse the target when you land it, but it is a coin flip at only 50% accuracy, and it has 100 power, and this is going to be another TM. And it's going to be TM01, and it's a prize for defeating the gym leader, Chuck. And I want to round this out by going over a couple of more moves that you could also teach to your Dragonite that are pretty decent. You have Outrage, which is a dragon type, and it has 120 power and 100 accuracy. There's some significant downsides to Outrage, though, which make it not a great selection if you're in a competitive battle against another person. But if you're just playing your way through the games, this can be a very useful attack to have on your Dragonite. The two downsides is after you're done using your Outrage, you become confused, and it also locks you into the Outrage move for a number of turns. And when you're in a competitive battle against another person, you don't want to lock yourself into a move like Outrage because then you become predictable, and to have success in a competitive Pokemon battle, it's all about unpredictability. But again, like I said, if you're just playing your way through the games, Outrage is a decent move to go with. And another Dragon-type move that you could also potentially go with is something like a Dragon Breath, which is TM24. Now, this only has 60 power, but it is 100 accuracy, and it has the added benefit of having a 30% chance to paralyze the target. And Dragon Breath is TM24, and it is a prize for defeating the gym leader, Claire. And those are all the moves that I wanted to talk about and how you can get them onto your Dragonite. There's a lot of strong offensive moves that you can teach to your Dragonite, and it's going to have a lot of coverage as a result of this. And on this particular build, you can see we have damage options with things like Double Edge and Dynamic Punch, which are going to go off of that physical attack stat, and then great coverage with Ice Beam and Thunder, which are going to go off of the special attack, and 4 additional moves that I also touched on with Blizzard, where you could potentially go with that instead of Ice Beam, and then potentially Fire Blast in the slot for where Thunder is, or maybe where Dynamic Punch is, and maybe Dragon Breath instead of Thunder Wave if you're looking for something that has attack that could also potentially paralyze instead of that higher chance to paralyze, or Outrage, which just has a ton of damage and is great if you're just playing your way through the game, but would be less ideal in a competitive battle against another person. And to wrap up this build, we have the item Leftovers. At the end of every turn, the holder restores 1/16 of its max HP. And Leftovers can be picked up from a wild Snorlax. It can also be grabbed at the Celadon City restaurant. It's going to be in the trash bin in that area. And you can also trade over a wild Clefable or a wild Snorlax from the first generation Pokemon games over to the second generation games. And that's also how you can get the Leftovers item. That's going to wrap up this video. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, and I'll catch you back here next time.